Yes, we can.
Great.
Justin,
so welcome.
can I just say one thing before you
Sure.
welcome? I just want to thank you
Sure.
so much for putting this together for us. Because I know we had a few conversations, so the department is here. This is Elizabeth speaking. We spoke
Yes.
over the email, so I just want to get that thank you in. Of course, I'll thank you again at the end, but we really appreciate it. So thank you.
No problem at all. You're most welcome.
Okay.
And of course, many of the persons here I'm quite familiar with, so
yeah,
it's quite an honor.
Okay.
So guys, welcome to the session once again, and we're gonna get started. So the name of this session, of course, is Teaching in the Online Environment. And what we hope to do in this particular session is really orient you to the some useful strategies that will help to enhance your teaching and learning, the teaching and learning experience for both you and your students. Yeah. So we're going to look at some instructional strategies and maybe some technology tools along the way. And a lot of because it's a large class, a lot of what we'll be doing, I'll try to demonstrate instead of just explain. I'll be demonstrating how you can use different things and different strategies and different tools and so on to make your sessions more engaging. All right. So yeah, anybody's nervous or so far so good? All right, so just some housekeeping rules. So you would see some icons at the bottom of your screen, just under the slide. You would see at the first one on the right side, still in the center, you're gonna see a raised hand. If you have a question or you wanna make a contribution or anything of that sort, just feel free to click on that icon and I'll get a notification that someone has a question or someone wants to make a comment and so on. All right, now this feature I'm just saying so you know how to use it in your classes as well. It's a good way to manage the class so you don't have persons talking over other persons. So when you click on the raise hand, it's almost like, think of it in the physical classroom, face-to-face classroom, where someone will raise his or her hand to speak, and then you kind of cue that person. All right. So I don't know if anybody wants to try it one time while we're here. You just click on that raise hand icon at the bottom middle of the screen. There we go. And Nicole just raised her hand. Nicole, is that a test or do you have something to say?
That was a test.
Okay. Great. And Heather did the same. So that's just one way of especially if you have large classes. I'm assuming that you have at least in some cases more than 10 persons in your class, and sometimes it might be you might want to have a class discussion, and because those are one of the techniques that we will mention today. But you don't really want persons talking over each other, or because then it gets a little mushy, and you don't really hear what is being contributed. Next to that, on the left side of that, you're going to see a camera icon. The camera icon right now, by default, it has a strike through. So you don't need to put your camera on. And this is just a side note as well. When you are doing your classes, you don't need to ask students to put on their cameras as well. Reason for that is, some students may have bandwidth issues, and then it's going to be glitchy and all that sort of thing. So you probably, if you want to use your camera as the instructor or the facilitator, then by all means you can, but I wouldn't recommend asking students to share their camera. All right. Next to that, on the left side of that, you will see the microphone icon. Well, I think that goes without saying. If you need to make a verbal contribution or raise a question, then you can click on that microphone icon and it comes on, and you can always tell when your microphone is functional, because as you speak, you're going to see the white inflections. All right. Now, I don't know if I should say inflections because of the department I'm referring to now. It's linguistics and so on. But you get what I'm saying, right? You're going to see it move accordingly. And on the left side of that, on the left side of that microphone icon, you're going to see it's usually an icon with a green tick on it. Hi, Joanne. You're going to see a green tick on it. Now, I want to invite you to click on that, please. And it's going to open a little bit of a menu for you. So technically, we already start, the ball rolling. So you get to see a little bit of how you could use Blackboard. All right. Now, you will see when you click on that, when you click on that icon, it's an icon with, you would see like a green tick on it. And when you hover over it, it says My Status and Settings. So this gives you a little idea of your internet connectivity, the stability of your network connection. It also gives you, and the more important part is, if I were to ask a question or ask your feedback on a particular issue or problem, or it could even be something related to an article, all right? Then you would use any of those icons, you click on any of them to indicate to give your feedback. So if I were to ask, what do you think of lunch today? All right, and anybody could click, and you could go ahead and click on it. What do you think about, how was your lunch today? Were you happy about your lunch? Were you sad? Were you confused about your lunch? What you had for lunch today? So go ahead and click. Okay, Sandra, I think Sandra indicated she's happy about lunch. So you click on any of the feedback options there. Good. Amina is happy. Keisha Keisha is confused about lunch. Elizabeth, you are sad about lunch. All right. Heather is surprised. So there we see, and now a good way to see it, guys, I think if you click on the right side of your the lower right side of your screen, you would see just a little purple kind of thumbprint, well, not a thumbprint, a little button. You click on that, it has a white arrowhead on it, all right, and it will expand the panel on the right side, the lower right side. That is where you will go to chat. That is where you will go to see the other participants in the class. So in an event where you want to take attendance, or you want to just get an eyeball of the attendance, you're going to click on the attendance icon, and that's the icon that has the number with it and the two persons, sorry. That's the icon. I was just describing the icon. So that's going to let you know when someone says they feel happy about something, you're going to see it there. So if we all click up, let's say if I ask you, what do you think about mathematics? Maths and stats. And you can click on any of the reactions, the feedback. So click on that. Amina said something about faster. Elizabeth, is feeling confused about maths. Heather is sad, and so on. So this is a good way of getting. And Ben, you said you are shocked. You are surprised. Sorry. So good. So this is a good way, guys, to get some quick feedback, because sometimes you might want to get feedback from your students, and having them speak may not, it might be a little messy, or you don't want to take too much time in creating a poll and so on. This is a good way of getting that feedback from them. All right, and it lets you know how many persons are sad, how many persons are surprised, how many persons are confused, that sort of thing. And even if they agree or disagree with a particular question. So if you ask a controversial question, this is a way that you can engage your students. So that's just a little tidbit on a quick thing on engagement in Blackboard. But it's not the main thing that we're going to focus on today. So anybody who knows some of these sessions that I do, I like to start with a sort of icebreaker. So I'm going to post some links in the chat. There are about 5 links to 5 questions, and I just need you to state your opinion on some of these things. All right? Of course, it's not going to go anywhere. This is just to start the ball rolling. So you click on the link, and for each link, it's going to take you to a question. All right. You don't have to state your name. You don't have to state, all the other stuff. All I need is to answer the questions. All right. So far, so good. So, so I'm just going to ask you some questions. As you know, so the first question: how has your technology use changed between pre-COVID and now? 93% of you said yes. All right, and I'll explain this tool in just a little bit. Okay, now 94. Okay, good. Go ahead. Continue clicking. Now again, remember I said I would be demonstrating some of these things and showing you not just the tool, the technology tool, but how you can use them or fold them into your online sessions. So 95% of you have noticed a change. Okay, now 90, 91%. All right. So far, so good, right? So 91%. And 95. So let's go to the next slide. So the majority of you have your technology use has changed. What technology tools have you used in your teaching practice or educational context prior to COVID-19, the current pandemic? Edmodo, right? BBC, Zoom, the WhatsApp Messenger. Yes. Yes. And guys, just on a side note, WhatsApp is a good platform to use for, you could make WhatsApp groups with your class and it keeps them abreast of the information. It's a more direct, a faster way of keeping in contact with your students. Now, you don't have to do it. I'm just saying, it's just an option. Google Docs, Zoom, all right, keep it coming. Zoom, Microsoft Teams, good. So there's a range of applications that you can use, all right, including this one. Right, so I'm very glad to see that persons are using WhatsApp as well. Edmodo, Zoom, I'll give you a couple seconds just to bring in, to type in your responses. I think someone made a comment. Okay, I don't know who LLS is, sorry. But I think you meant Zoom. Yes, definitely. Blue Jeans, Canvas, okay, good. Google Suite, etc. So good, very good. Let's go on to the next question. Were you comfortable using those tools in your educational context? 80% of you said yes, and right, so the majority of you said yes. All right, fairly good, good. Maybe I should have asked the question, did you encounter any challenges along the way? But that's for another thing. All right, good. So far, so good. Keep it going, guys. And this seems almost like an auction. Just on a side note, were there some hindrances or issues that you faced in using the technologies in your educational context? So right, BBC, Blackboard Collaborate crashing. Students had technical and connectivity issues. Learners were not remembering their passwords. Okay, good. Right, Wi-Fi freezing. So connectivity issues again. Right, Wi-Fi connectivity. And I hope that as we go through this, you're seeing that some of them are the same. Right, so we have 4 consecutive responses with the same issue. 5. Right, so I'm glad that you're seeing that. Sometimes you might think it's only in your class, but it's also in another class as well. You have similar hurdles. Teaching sign language is a problem because of the need for video. That is true. Now, what you can do, just on a side note with regard to that, you might want to pre-record, do a screencast or a pre-recorded video or recording of that particular, for that sign language class. that might be one way to go. Instead of using a live, doing it synchronously or using a live video, a live session, you might want to do a pre-recorded session, yeah, and have activities to supplement it. So technical is used for students, poor internet connectivity, poor computer functionality, yes. All right, I think those are some universal problems as well. Good. How do you feel about remote or online teaching? Sorry, someone said meh. Someone said I got used to it. Actually, I enjoy teaching online. Very good. Some people said great, positive. And that's good because this is a whole, you know, a paradigm shift, as it were. No traffic. Yes, that's always a plus, right? You know, it's a paradigm shift, and you know, we have with that shift we have to adjust, or some people in some philosophies they might say evolve, right, to remain effective. Face-to-face is more efficient, but I prefer being at home. Good, I learned a lot. Good, good, but there are many challenges. Yes, there are, like the connectivity issues you just mentioned. Someone said, I don't mind it. The introvert in me loves it. It helps as I have to oversee online schooling for my daughter simultaneously. I also did an entire degree online. There you go. So you're not a stranger to it. All right. Nice, nice. Any other responses? Okay. So I just want to, you know, give you some hope that, you know, where you had challenges, you don't worry at all. We got you covered. And what we really want to do in this session is kind of add to what you already know. And even if you think you don't know that much, that's okay. We're going to start from where you are to where you need and take you to where you need to be. All right. So some of the objectives we have for this session, we're going to be able to describe remote teaching and learning, which I think is a given because that's the context that we're in now. You're going to be able to identify instructional strategies, all right? And then we're going to create some activities, or at least begin the process in creating those activities to enhance student engagement. Even if it is on a conceptual level, that's okay. You're not expected to have it fully fleshed out by the end of this session. And then we're going to see how we can incorporate technology to facilitate student engagement. All right, so before we could even get to that last part, the first thing we need to do is understand our context. This is what I like to call our teaching context. Now, the first thing, or instructional context. Now, the first thing about this context is that we're in the context or the era or the phase, or you know, whatever you want to call it, of remote education. Now we know that at the very least, remote education, of course, is self-explanatory. It's outside the confines of a physical classroom, and you are now given the I don't want to say the burden, but the task of teaching students from in the online environment or via distance. All right, so through space and time, basically. And of course, the vehicle for that is technology. Just generally speaking, it's technology. In our context, it will be My Learning. It's going to be Blackboard Collaborate. It might be Zoom, you know, and some of these other platforms. All right, and it can be synchronous or live, or it can be asynchronous, where it's pre-recorded. So as I mentioned with the sign language classes, you might want to use more asynchronous recordings for that. And let me just go off on a, well, not go off on a tangent, but on a side note, with that sign language, those sign language classes, you can even have students submit video assignments, you know, for the course assessments. That's also a good way so you can actually see students demonstrate the sign language, words and letters and all these different things. All right, so just giving that idea there. So it makes up for the face-to-face session. Okay, great, Ben, good. And of course, it's because it's not, I don't want you to think that it's entirely online, guys. It's for now just a temporary adjustment. Like I said, this is a period of adjustments. And so it's a temporary thing in our context. Now, just off the generally speaking, I'm trying to touch on the general things and then we go down to the specific things. So the different ways and that you might want to, different avenues that you might want to consider, of course, would be your assessments, like I just mentioned, and I think Ben mentioned doing the video assignments and so on. You can engage your students and so on in the online synchronous sessions, such as BBC or Blackboard, such as Blackboard or Zoom, sorry, and even in My Learning. So what I'm saying, guys, is that you could make the adjustments anywhere in any segment of your course, whether it's in the course activities such as discussion forum, quizzes, project or video activities, likewise for assessments and different things. So this is an opportunity to be very, very creative and to think outside of the box, not to go rogue, but just be a little more innovative. All right. Now it has to in the midst of all the creativity and the innovation and so on, you must have some sort of structure or some sort of foundation, which would be, in our case, we like to call it alignment. So you're not going to give an activity or an assignment that does not relate to the objectives. It's not just about the technology that you want to use, but it's how the technology helps you in accomplishing your specific objective. So let's say if I wanted to go to the airport and I'm on the St. Augustine campus, what would be the best avenue to get to the airport, Piarco International Airport? You could use a mic, you could speak, or you could use the chat. Would I use a plane? Go ahead. I'm hearing a mic on, so go ahead and speak.
Hire taxi.
Hire taxi, somebody said taxi ride share. Right, good. Oh, you all know the thing, man. Okay, good. So you could drive, hire a taxi, etc. But I wouldn't use a boat, a ship, to go to the airport. I wouldn't use a plane to go to the airport. So my point here is really that you want to make sure that the media or the technology tools that you use, and I would venture to say the instructional strategies that you use, fit with the learning outcomes or the objectives. All right? And you don't have to be perfect in the first try. You might get feedback that, okay, the students didn't really get it, and you might want to just amend it the next time around, and that's perfectly fine. All right, remember, this is a season of adjustments, yeah? So keep that in mind. So it's a nice time to just stop and think on what you've done so far, because it's really, you're not going to be reinventing the wheel, you're just going to improve on what, or adjust or augment what you have already done, all right? And make it suitable for the current context that we're in. And this is all part of the paradigm shift I was talking about earlier. Now, besides the remote teaching context, we also need to do a sort of learner analysis. Now, some of us may have done a learner analysis. And the learner analysis is really just try to understand who are your students, what do they like, what personalities do they come with, what limitations do they come with, what strengths do they have, what prior knowledge and experiences do they have. Do you have more males and females or vice versa? Do you have mature learners or younger students? Yeah. So all these things help to inform the kind of strategies and the instructional decisions, if you will, that you try to incorporate, that you make or try to incorporate in your classes or your sessions. All right. So I hope you see where we're going with this. We started with the context, the remote context, then we go to understanding our learners, and we're going to well, I'll show you where we're going to in just a bit. So as we're on this point, how would you describe your learners? So I have a little link for you. Let me just share it. And I want you to think of what you're seeing on this slide here, and tell us how, you just type it in, sorry. Oh, let me just get that again. All right, and we go to, let me just get that link. So I want you to go to this Padlet, and you're gonna click on it. All right, you're gonna click on it and explain, give us a description. What are the features or the traits, I would say, not features, of your particular students. So I just typed the link in there. And I'm going to share the screen so we can all see what it looks like. Now, this particular platform is called Padlet. Now, Padlet is another technology tool that you might want to consider using in a similar format. All right. And it's very easy to use. So, right, Joanne, I know you might be familiar with this, right? Many in their 20s. So you just double click anywhere and you can start typing. So I'll give you a couple of minutes. I was going to play Jeopardy, some Jeopardy music in the background, but I think I'll hold off on that. All right, let me see if I can set it up for you one time. So while you do that, so this is one way of I'll give about 60 seconds for that. In fact, since the music started playing, I realized more the responses are coming in more quickly. I think everybody's trying to beat the music. All right, so we have it now. So let's see. No, nobody wagered anything, so that's okay. So we have, most of the responses are anonymous, and that's okay. Some person said students are keen, they like to interact. Joanne said many are in their 20s, right? So it's a fairly young group, young adults. Several have recently completed CAPE. Not all are ready on this for the same content. That's a good point. That's a good point. They spring into action when assignments are due, and many are shy to contribute. I like that you observed that. Whoever stated this particular made this contribution. All right. They are young and enthusiastic, so good. So you get that excitement with them. And as you mentioned that, I want to encourage you to capitalize on that. That means they bring a certain energy and verve to the classroom, and you want to capitalize on that and direct it to a productive end in your class, right? Quite a few are working full-time. Good, so you consider that. Mostly young, visually stimulated. Good, so you have a lot of visual learners in your class. They respond to visual methods like pictures and videos. Good, good. Joanne, that is, I was going to say true. I mean, yeah, no prior exposure to linguistics. Yeah, that is true, or no knowledge of prior knowledge of the field. Yeah, mostly young women with one, maybe two guys, right? So you have mostly women in your class. Some are anxious. So do you mean like nervous and stressed and so on? Yeah. I see some of the others, young adults, millennials, and in environments not conducive to learning. That is a big one. Some linguistics majors have a law of com studies suicide to right? And guys, feel free to put your mics on, and if you need to laugh or make a comment, that's okay. Some of them are tired. Some of them, they don't like to put their webcams on. That is true. All right. So guys, this is really good. Now while we're here, let me just show you something with Padlet. And I know I'm digressing a bit, but I'm just trying to show you it very quickly while we're here. Now, Padlet is a virtual board. It's a board that you can use for brainstorming. You can use for activities such as this, where persons can post their sentiments or their thoughts or their contributions on a virtual wall. All right. Now, it's very simple to access. You just go to padlet.com, right? Or you could do a Google search for Padlet, and that's perfectly fine. Now, one of the things I like with Padlet is that it is pretty flexible. So it could be a group, it can be used for a group activity or project, and it can even be used as a class activity. So in a case like what I did just now, I use it as a class activity. But let's say I wanted to report on something. To do that, and if you look at the screen, all I have to do is click on share at the top right side, and I can share it on different platforms, social media, even Google Classroom. Or what I like to do is save it as a PDF, and this is what it produces. A PDF, let's say I want to make it, I could go with this, and it produces a PDF with the contributions. Now, even if if persons uploaded videos, hyperlinks, websites, images, it will all come up and be functional in the PDF document. So let's just go very quickly. This is not a tutorial on Padlet, but it's just showing you how you can use Padlet. Now, go to padlet.com. It's a very simple thing, padlet.com. I'll just walk you through very quickly. I know I'm digressing, but I hope you don't mind, because I think it's something that you might find very useful in your particular context, teaching context. Is that okay? I find you guys are quiet. You could say something, say something.
Yes, that's fine. That's great.
Great. Okay, so go to padlet.com, and yes, I know, I could relate to an extent, yes. Say, let me just pull up a new tab here. So you're gonna go to Padlet, and I'm still logged in, so, but you're gonna see something like this, and you could easily click just Padlet up here, or you could click sign up. Anyone is good, but I think you just to expedite the process, just click on Padlet, and you can create your account. It's going to ask you to, of course, give it a name, a username, a password, etc., etc. So you could save your Padlet. So let's say I want to open this Padlet. All right, it's going to ask you to sign up if you don't have a Padlet already. And you can, I would recommend that you sign up using your Google credentials. So it's, one less password you have to remember. So you could sign up with Google, or you could use another email account. All right, and that's it. So let me know when you sign up, when you have started your account, And you can let me know by just giving me a thumbs up in the chat. Nice. Well, Jordan, I know you're set. Right, Julie, nice. Right, Keisha, you're good. Oh, I would recommend going free. Free Padlet is you get a lot without having to pay for it. Right? Yes, the paid version, Christian may ask you to, it might be for commercial purposes and that sort of thing, which is not what you really want to go for. So I'm just waiting for a couple. Yes, yes. And the features as well, in terms of not just the number of Padlets and so on, but other features of the platform. But the free version gives, remember, you're using this really for teaching and learning context, right? As opposed to, you know, a commercial motive. No, the free one allows more than 5. At least I have more than 5, several Padlets, Heather. And the good thing is that even if it allows, let's say, you know, there's a change in the terms of use, if there's a limit of 5, which I don't think there is, because I have more than 5 right now. I have probably about 10 or more. You can always save it as a PDF and take it from there. So good. So we all have that. And let me just go back to my screen and pull up the Padlet. So what you want to do, let me just go to my profile. So these are some of the Padlets I have, right? So I'm just saying it's more than 5. So I wanted to, let's say, you know, you want to create a Padlet. All you have, now I'm not sure what your screen might look like. Mine might look a little different. Let me go to this one, to the Padlet homepage. And you would see a page that looks something like this. You may not see some of these things, but the first thing you want to go to is click Make a Padlet. That's on the top left side. Make a Padlet. You click on Make a Padlet. All right. Now this is just, okay, no, sorry, let me go back. I told you to click the wrong thing. Let's go to, no, not join a Padlet. That's my gallery. And I think it's this one. No, I don't want that one. Let me go back a little bit. This is actually very new. I'm seeing this. I logged in not too long ago and this didn't happen. So let's see. I guess now it's prompting me to make a Padlet. What are you guys seeing on your when you try to make a Padlet? You could use a mic.
Make a Padlet, join a Padlet, something about upgrade. Just now I'm trying to flick back to the screen. Gallery upgrade, yeah.
Right, so you're seeing similar to what I have on my screen.
Right, yeah.
Good. So click on Make a Padlet. And it should prompt you to take you to a sort of wall of some sort, let's say like this. Similar to this wall that we just typed on. Yeah?
Well, there's wall, canvas, stream. They're different.
Yeah.
Right, good. So you're seeing exactly what I want. Good. So you're seeing exactly what I want you to see. So you can click on, you should see something that allows you to select the format or the layout of the content. You should see something with, can anybody tell me what you're seeing?
Wall, canvas, stream, grid, shelf, back channel, map.
Right. Good. So those, and you're seeing some graphics with it, like a purple and a green, right? So what I want you to do is select any one of those, preferably the first one at the top. Right? And then what do you see after that? Does it take you to a sort of template or a canvas? Right. So what you're going to do there is give it a name. So you will see something that looks like this. With this little panel on the side, it's going to ask you to give it a description or a title.
Yeah.
Right. So give it a title. And once you give it a title, you don't have to give it a description, but normally in the description, I might give further instructions, whether it's like in this case, consider age, attitudes, prior knowledge or experience, skills, etc. All right. So that's just a little, you know, one sentence, a blurb on that. Then you can scroll down a bit. You could select the kind of wallpaper you might like. Now that's just the look and feel of it. You know, you could even add your own thing. So if it's a linguistic themed backdrop, that background that you would like, you're more than free to do that. All right, you don't have to do it now because it might take a while, but you just click on add your own wallpaper and you could upload something from your phone or your flash drive. For now, we could keep it simple. Use a generic one. And then, so I'll give you a couple more seconds to do that. Now, once you've done that, you can prompt the platform to identify the author for each name. That's, yeah, you could enable that or not. All right. You can determine the layout of the information in terms of if you want the most recent one first at the top or the other way around. And you can even enable right under that, you can enable persons to comment on each other's posts. All right. Now, once you've done that, let me know if I'm going too quickly. Once you've done that, you could go ahead and click save. All right, you would see it at the top here. You could click save and continue. All right. And that's it. You just click anywhere on the wall and you have your very own wall. Now, how do you save this wall or share it, sorry, I should say? All you have to do is click on the share button at the top right side. The top right side. Now you could always go and amend this. This is not set in stone, right? You click on share and you can copy link to clipboard. That's just basically you copy the link and you place it. Let's say in this case, you could share your Padlet. You could put it in the chat here so others could view it. All right. So feel free, guys, to share your Padlet if you can. And you can always change it after. Are you there? Right, Nicole, you have your Padlet. Ah, right. So Nicole has a Padlet for Spanish, and my dad is very good at Spanish, but I don't use it very often. So admittedly so, but I do know some of the words. So if I click, I could say, okay, I'm just gonna type something, right, Nicole? Hopefully I get it right. Right. Anybody else wants to share his or her Padlet? If you need me to, if you need me to show you how to share it again, let me know. You could use your mic, that's okay. Okay, Christian, right, so you have yours. Test Padlet, I like that. All right, so I'll just say test hello, right? And I could even add a link. Let's say if I wanted to add a link to, let's say, a YouTube link of some sort, I could do that. All right. And look, Nicole types on Christian's thing. So good, keep it going, guys. Heather, right? You shall not pass, right? Because Heather, you didn't give us access to your Padlet. So you can just go into your options, your settings, and that's the little gear button at the top right side. Yes, Christian?
Yeah, I saw it right at the bottom of the controls, the filters. So that's something I was wondering about. So assuming like once you share this link, like what we did,
Right.
I mean, anybody who gets the link can pretty much post stuff up, whether it's links, videos, anything. So you can actually set it up like with a kind of moderator control, where you can approve what's going to go on in case anybody wants to put something inappropriate or not, not recommended.
Exactly. So in a case like this, if you have a class and you really don't trust them, you would know your class. Like I said, once you do your learner analysis, you know the kind of persons you have. So if you think that it might be a kind of rowdy bunch, then you might want to ensure that it goes through your approval before it becomes public. All right. Or if you want the platform to filter any sort of profanity and that sort of thing. All right. Generally, because I'm sharing it with faculty, I tend not to use it too much. But if it's with students, then I implement it. And I would implement it initially, and then after a while, just to set the tone, of what I expect and what is not allowed, and then you go from there. All right. So I hope you guys have had fun with that. I don't want to stay too long on it because I know we have a couple other things to get through. All right, and I don't want to keep you too long. Yes, Donna?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Saffron. How do I share it? I'm sorry, it's probably obvious, but I don't know how to.
Okay, no problem. So to share it, let me just scroll up. You would see at the top right side, scroll to the top of your wall, and you would see share right up here. Now guys, if you want to share it, you click on share. If you want to edit like the settings of it, you go into the gear wheel next to it. So you click on share, and you would see copy link to clipboard. That just means copy the link, and that's it. You paste the link wherever you need to paste it. If you want to embed it into your My Learning site, because I've done so in the past, you click on this and it will give you what we call an embed code, and it's really just a basic programming code that would allow you to embed it into your, let's say example, your My Learning course site. So students wouldn't have to go. Now, two things. Students don't have to create a Padlet account to access your Padlet, and two, they don't want to post on the Padlet, and two, when you embed it into your My Learning site, they don't have to go externally to a Padlet platform. But I'm talking about in this context where you might be teaching synchronously and you want to use the Padlet to engage your students, you want to use it in this way. All right. I see we have LLS 2.
It's Lindell. Lindell.
Oh,
yeah,
hi, Lindell.
Lindell. Yeah, I have a question. Once you share the Padlet, is it that you cannot access it anymore to put in information? Because
yes.
I'm not able to do it. It's when I click on it, it says you have unsaved changes. So and it's asking me if to discard and close. Perhaps I didn't save it.
No, you didn't save it yet. So scroll to the top, and you would see the save button on the I think it's on the extreme right top.
Extreme right.
So where you see like how my panel is open here, you click. You have close, share, and normally you would see save.
Okay.
Next, in case you might have modify.
Let's have modify.
Right, and next to modify, what are you seeing?
Next.
Okay, click on next.
Next, okay. Yes, it says post. Start posting.
You're free to post. Good, and that's it. All right, and are you seeing the share button at the top right side?
Yes, now I'm seeing it.
Right, and that.
So with that, I can post again. Is that
yes,
it?
you can. Yes, you can post, and you can also share it, and other persons can post and you share it.
Okay. Yes, now I'm able to share. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. No problem at all. No problem at all. So, guys, I'm just gonna go very quickly because I didn't really plan to go too much into Padlet, but I thought it would have been a good avenue to. Yes. Yeah, I thought it would be a good idea because I think it would be a tool that you can use in different ways, whether it's for reflective. You might want your students to create a Padlet, each student create a Padlet for their reflections and their, and now let me just say as well, Padlet is not just specific to text. Let's say in the case of Ben, you might want students to create a Padlet, a wall of sign language material. All right, and that way they could create a Padlet on that and post videos of themselves and so on. All right. So you could post videos, you could post URLs, and that sort of thing. Is that so? We clear on Padlet now? Great. And Christian, yes. Now Padlet, because it has a social media flair to it, you would always see some sort of very positive or vibrant. That's the best way I could say. Yes, positive messages and things to make you feel good about yourself and that sort of thing. Yes, Rianne?
Yes, I'm asking a question on behalf of Ian. I'm his interpreter. He has a question asking if on the Padlet you put a statement in English, but you have someone of another language accessing the Padlet. Is there like a translation mechanism in Padlet or something like that?
Good question. I haven't tried well, I can't say that it doesn't have a translation side to it or feature to it. I've never tried it, but even if the software doesn't have that, you can also program your computer to pick up on the particular language. Now this is particularly if it's like something like French or Spanish. You could set your computer to type. So when you type on your normal keyboard, you'll take it, translate it to whatever language that you have. So that's one way you can do it, or you can copy and paste from a previous, let's say you had something in Spanish, French, or Portuguese even, and you might want to copy that and just paste your post into Padlet. So that's also an alternative. So what I'm saying is that I haven't verified that it can do translations in Padlet, but I just told you some alternatives. All right, some workarounds. All right, is that okay?
Much.
You're breaking up a bit.
Oh, sorry. He said yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. So good, guys, good. So the learner analysis, of course, it's important because it informs everything that you do, including the tools that you use, the activities that you integrate, and that sort of thing in your session. So a good learner analysis, and as you described earlier, you said that most of them are millennials, most of them are, they don't have any prior knowledge or experience in language or linguistics and that kind of thing. But there are different ways you could get that information in our context. So when you look at their information and their profiles in My Learning, or the information you get from Banner, that's one way you can get information on their, the age range, the majors, and that sort of thing. You can also do an introductory activity. Let's say something like what I did just now, the poll everywhere. That's a platform. You might just want to make note of that. We wouldn't go into it, but that's one tool that you can use, poll everywhere. And I could also send you information on that. But that's a nice little polling platform that you could get a lot of information, you could conduct a needs assessment, as we call it, in a short space of time. All right, so you get to have an idea of what students feel, that sort of thing. And I have another tool here that you might be interested in. I'm feeling generous today, so I guess it is. All right, so there's a tool that we call Answer Garden. Poll Everywhere does the same thing, but Answer Garden is another one that does like a word cloud based on persons' responses. All right, let me see if I find it for you. So basically you just state a question and let me just post it in the chat now. So yes, you state a question and then students post their responses and it changes every time. All right, it's like a word cloud generator thing, but based on students' opinions or contributions. All right, I have one in Poll Everywhere. Maybe at the end of the session, I can show you that as well. All right, that'll just be a bonus. So a good learner analysis or needs assessment would give you some of the things we see here. So many of you mentioned group characteristics. All right, not a problem, Elizabeth. So group characteristics such as the age. Many of you mentioned that you have a lot of millennials, persons in there, let's say between 18 and 30. Some persons mentioned you have working students. Some may have certain attitudes. They may not like a particular discipline, or I think Joanne mentioned they don't really have much knowledge or experience in linguistics, prior knowledge and experience. So that's one thing. So these are things that you want to note. And like I said, there are different ways you can get it. I find very easily doing a quick poll or even using the status feature in Blackboard that I showed you earlier, is a quick, you could do that in less than 5 minutes. You ask them some questions, and they just take their reactions. And that helps to break the ice. And of course, you branch off maybe into a brief discussion and that sort of thing. All right. But once you get that information, it informs everything that you do thereafter. So when you understand the student, you know how to engage the student, right? So you're not basically shooting in the dark, as some people say, but you're very strategic, because remember, that's what instructional design is all about. That it's about being very systematic and being very strategic. So if you know that your students, I think somebody mentioned they like visual, they're a lot of visual learners, then you're not going to have a session where you talk all the time. You're going to give them opportunities to be stimulated by, give some visual stimuli, right? So videos, presentations, they can create their own videos as well, because usually a lot of visual persons tend to be kinesthetic persons as well. So types of learners, that is. So keep that in mind. So like I said, all this is basically saying is that when you understand the learner and you understand the entire context, then you know how to engage the learner, right? And of course, maximize engagement. Now, just very quickly, you have a couple persons who give some very nice tips on how to engage and how to really keep students actively involved in the teaching and learning process. And this is one of them. So Philip said that engagement is active. And notice what I said, active. And even before that, I think active involvement. Anytime a student is active, it means that the student is less likely to be bored or to, not be, the student is involved in the process, as opposed to sitting and just listening as a passive learner or recipient of knowledge. So, Skleckley, I hope I pronounced that right. I remember it's linguists. I have here some linguists. So he placed levels of engagement. Now, yes, you have a total of 5 of them, but I want to focus really on the first 2 or 3, because you really want to get high attention and high commitment. Now, the high attention and high commitment means that you have the student's interest is piqued, right? And they are also driven. So let's say you give me a project. Let's say I remember back in the day, we had this linguistics project. And it was, I think I was in year 1 at the time, and it was a field research. I think it was, what was this course? Introduction to Language, I think it was. Something along those lines. But it was one of the most, I could remember it to this day. We had to go in the field and, just get some samples of language in the community and that sort of thing. It was challenging, but it piqued my interest. It piqued my attention. So that is one way to show, that's just an example of how you can get high attention and high commitment. Now, you're not going to get high attention if the session is just you doing all the talking. All right, you must get feedback from students. So that's why I keep asking you to use your mics, ask question, pose a comment, use the chat, or post, to share something, because that lets me know not just that learning is taking place, but also that you're engaged. All right. Strategic compliance is really just where, you do it just because you need to pass the course, right? But the student doesn't learn anything. It's not, or if they learn anything, it's easily forgotten. Yeah, or soon after the course is completed, or the session is done, the student doesn't remember anything. And let me just say, you'll see a slide later on where you remember more of what you do than what you just hear. So if they listen to you talk, they're not going to remember that. You might probably forget most of the things I say today. But you know what you'll remember? That you created a Padlet, because you did that. That was something you did, right? So that's just to give you an idea of, so when you want students to be more engaged and more attentive, and even more interested in what you need them to be interested in, then just make them more involved. All right. Benjamin Franklin stated this quote for years, right? Tell me and I forget. Show me and I may remember. But involve me and I learn. I remember learning is what you want to take place. All right. So you need to get them involved. They remember more of what they do than what they just see or what they hear. All right. And Dale's cone of experience is one that we also use in ensuring that our instruction is effective. Notice, this is, yes, go ahead. I'm not sure who IRD is, but
yes,
go ahead.
That's Ian. I'll be speaking on his behalf.
Okay.
He said there's a thing you were speaking about, constantly speaking and not having the students active. But I think that depends a little bit on experience. There are a lot of people, yes. There are a lot of people who maybe will have some mental issues or certain disabilities that may keep them back from keeping up with the class, So
right.
When it comes to, so when it comes to those things, they tend to struggle. So do you have any ideas to circumvent that?
To circumvent persons who...
Yeah, they may appear at a different capacity or ability to the rest of the class, and that may affect them from learning. It may not necessarily be that they cannot be involved, but maybe something else holding them back from being involved and learning. So how do we tackle that is what he's asking.
Good question. Excellent question. One of the things that you want to do in your needs assessment at the very beginning of your course, let's say all now as the semester just started, let them do a VARC, a learning assessment. Now, this is a personal thing, all right, and it's something that is enlightening to them. Now, the VARC test, let me see if I can get the link and post it for you. The VARC test is a quick way of, for students or anybody for that matter, to evaluate or to know what kind of learner you might be. So let me just post the link here. This one I'm posting is a more modern version, all right, so you could probably copy and paste that into your My Learning course as well. All right, and so it lets you know, now VARC is a model that, it's an acronym. So VARC, visual, V. A, for those who, the oral learners or those who could listen, they could listen to you speak for long periods of time. Then you have R, reading. Those who like to read, they could read a whole book. And you tend to have a lot of those even in most of your programs. I would assume so. And then you have the kinesthetic learners, the K. So persons who like to do things. So for me, I didn't realize I was a visual kinesthetic, dominantly at least, type of learner for quite a long time. Yeah, before I just, I thought, okay, I was kind of guessing. But when I really understood the way my learning preference, it's not that you can't learn via reading or listening, but everyone has a preference. Everyone can learn in the 4 major ways, but you have a preference, or you might be stronger in some ways more than others. Yeah. So Rayan, you might be more, I'm just giving an example, you might be more someone who likes the visual, right?
True.
But very true. But it doesn't mean that you cannot learn by reading and writing or listening to somebody. It doesn't mean that you mightn't learn by getting that hands-on experience. So what I'm saying is that when you get students to do that VARC survey from very early, it lets them know that it makes them cognizant of their learning preferences. And so they know how to tailor, So for me, I knew when I realized what were my dominant styles of learning, I knew that, okay, final examinations tend to be a problem for me. I like more projects and coursework and that kind of thing. So, I knew where my strengths lie. So a lot of my time would be spent, I would be totally engrossed, or used to be totally engrossed in coursework, building up my marks and so on, because I know for final exams, I'm probably not going to do as well as I would like to. So that was one of my strategies, right? So it's not a all-encompassing solution, but it is something that would be of use and really help you in that regard. All right. Now, what I also recommend is that your instruction, you aim for a more multimodal approach. So you're not just putting up a PowerPoint and talking and assume that should be enough. You want to kind of cater to all the different learning styles. So you want to give them something to do. You want to give them something to read. You want to give them something to listen to. You want to give them something to look at. So those are the four components there. If we stop and think of what we did in this particular session thus far, let's say we started about an hour ago. Let's look at what we covered. We have the visual with the PowerPoint and the demonstrations with Padlet and so on. You have the what's on the PowerPoint. You're reading the PowerPoint, so that's the reading part. You're listening to my voice as I explain things. But then I'm also giving you, we just created a Padlet. Everyone has a Padlet now, yeah? So I cater to the 4 styles right there. And the Padlet was only to reinforce, now notice how the linking here was, I gave you the Padlet only to reinforce what I was saying before, that you could use it as a introductory activity, as a, X, Y, and Z, and these different things. So I want, if it's anything that you remember today, you want to make sure you take a multimodal approach in your instruction. That way you cater to all the different learning styles as opposed to just one. So if I'm a student in your class, Rian, and let's say my strength is in visual or kinesthetic, but you are only talking to me, then I'm not going to be engaged. In fact, it would result in the student being not just disengaged, but in some cases, as you saw in the table just now, could be disruptive. Because I used to be disruptive in secondary school, but it was because after a while I realized that, my particular learning style was not, or preference was not being catered to. Yeah? So does that make any sense? So it was difficult. Right. So it was difficult for me to understand. So let's say, for example, history. Right? History was, I liked the content and so on, but after a while it didn't really, I wasn't as engaged. And that was because, well, when the teachers, change and so on during the different levels, some of them would just stand up and talk. And for me, it didn't make history real to me. Likewise with geography. I didn't like geography until, we went out and we looked at the coastline, the coastal environment, and, all these different things. So it became real to me as opposed to just going to read in the book, So that in itself, even if it's through my humble experience, it gives hopefully it would shine some light on the need for catering to multiple modes or multiple learning styles. All right, and that's what we call that multimodal instruction or differentiated instruction. So you cater to the different learning styles. All right. So once you understand your students, now is to strategize. So you want to strategize, and this is where we talk about learning strategies. And now we're gonna demonstrate a lot of what I'm gonna demonstrate some of the tools and so on along the way. So one of the things about learning styles, is that it lets you know what strategies you can incorporate. But generally, you want to use a student-centered approach. A student-centered approach, remember I spoke earlier about a paradigm shift? Now, traditionally, we would normally be used to what we call a teacher-centered approach, where, no problem at all, Ian, where the lecturer or the teacher would stand in front of the class, let's say it's in a face-to-face class, stand in front of the auditorium and speak. And the students are somehow supposed to remember everything that you say. But what the research has shown, especially with the emergence of millennials and even centennials now, and that's those who are after 2000, I think, the turn of the century. We live in an age where it's all about technology. It's all about social media. It's a very fluid or dynamic context in which we live. So your teaching strategies will have to evolve to meet the needs of the change in students that you have. Yeah. So standing in front of a lecture hall and talking for 2 hours wouldn't suffice. So even doing it online, that would not. That's even worse, because now the student has other competing distractions. Yeah. So while, let's say if I were talking here for a whole hour, you have different things going on in your remote location, whether it be family, the television, even your phone. You might want to check, your Facebook account while this session is going on. I hope I'm not talking to anybody in particular, but there are different things that, or you might get up to go in the kitchen and make a sandwich while the session is going on. So, and the reason for that is, I am, whoever is that person will not, the teacher that is not engaging you enough. That's low attention, low commitment. Yeah. So remember, I showed you the table. You want high commitment, high attention. So you take a more student-centered approach, where you cater to my needs, where you cater, well, I cater to your needs as a facilitator in this particular session, right? So I meet your needs. If you're a visual or multimodal, we have different persons here. I can't just cater to the visual learners, yeah? Added to that, I have to make you involved in the process. So that influences all of the activities I incorporate in the session, the strategies I use. And when you think of student-centered, it has to be more hands-on strategies or participatory learning. All right, so that's basically it. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you some strategies here that are more student-centered. Some of them you will know, as we see here. Good question, Christian. Good question. If you is well, everyone could see it there. All right. Now, generally, the CTL has been, how to say this in a diplomatic way? The CTL has been fighting the good fight. All right, in terms, because there are some persons, some departments, sorry, or some fields or some faculties that may have final exams worth 80%. Now, that is not in any way best practice per se. Yeah, no, 80%, right? You thought 50% was bad. Yeah, it is true. All right, so and with this current situation with the pandemic and the transition to remote teaching and learning, it really forced, things to change, forced people to change, or forced people to consider alternatives, that sort of thing. And for good reason, yeah? So with the UE has considered the weighting of assessments and so on. And that's why you see we were talking a lot last year about alternative assessments, meaning that they are more hands-on, more authentic, more not just a final exam that is worth the majority of the course. So to answer your question, yes, UE has already considered it. And in fact, I have a meeting, I think, later this week with the deputy principal and so on to even address to modify those some of the parameters. All right. So yeah. So to answer your question, yes. Could you elaborate on that, please? Can engagement mean adapting or being inspired to create an individual response? Could you elaborate, please?
So like something that you might have said or something the lecturer might have said,
So when I'm doing this project, what he's saying about X, I could use that to do Y. You know?
Yes, yes. That is engagement, because now the student is not just repeating what you are doing word for word, but now the student can take that principle, extrapolate the principles from it, and apply it to a different context.
So you might find, for example, I'm just asking, a student, you there and you moving on, but the student has taken off, well, not taken off, but the student has diverted from your main thought and is going on to what they can acquire. I don't know if I'm using the right word, to make the material more meaningful for them. And to me, that means that it becomes personalized.
Yes, yes, and you're definitely right. You hit the nail on the head. I remember back in school, some students used to use songs, create songs to remember certain things. One of the things I struggle with, well, there's no secret, mathematics. That was, yeah. And what was this thing? Trigonometry. All right, I used to struggle with that. And what a couple of my friends and I did, we created a sort of acronym, if you will, or you know, to remember the different formulae. And it was oh hell another hour of arithmetic, which I think kind of, I can't remember it now, but it was something to relate to hypotenuse and tangent and you know all these different things. But we personalize it in a way that and repackage it in a way that would be meaningful to us, that we would remember, because it resonated with our aversion to to trigonometry at the time, right? Another example would be where, let's say, students might remember certain quotations or right. For me, another way I personalize certain things is in linguistics. Phonetics and phonology was not my strong point. So what I decided to do was related to singing. So I remember the different parts of, no, this is Joanne here. I know you were gonna say, I don't know, I just felt it wasn't my strongest suit. But I'm just being honest, confession is good for the soul. But what I did, I related it to singing. So it was easy for me to identify not just the parts of the mouth, you know that diagram, Joanne? I can't remember, it was no, this is where the maths come in, it's not a hypotenuse. Yeah, the vocal apparatus, basically, yeah. And so I know the sensations that I'm feeling in terms of the hard palate, the soft palate, the glottal sound, and you know, so I was able to make that connection. So I made it personal, the quadrilateral. Thank you so much for that. So yes, I was able to relate it to that, and what it did, it helped improve. Well, I would hope it improved a little bit. Some of my singing, so but you know, I was able to personalize it like that. So that's the point I'm trying to make. All right, so it became meaningful to me. Yeah. So these are some situations. These are some not situations, strategies that you want to consider here. Now, based on what I just explained, this is why you want to make the learning and what you are delivering to students. You don't want to make it like a blank canvas. You want to make it personal to them, or relatable, or relevant to them. So you're not going to give an example of something that was way back decades before their time. You know, one of the things that was trending on social media last semester was the Trini alphabet. And I wanted to send some of these things to some of you guys because I felt it was something that was so relevant. I don't know if many of you know, if any, you know, some of you might know about it. The Trini alphabet, no? Anyways, but what they were doing was taking, yes, and I think he graduated recently. And I felt it was such a good thing to connect with some of the things that you might be teaching. Yeah, so we can see that, you know, A is for, let's say, I know there's a course, Creole Linguistics. Yes, he has a new series, right? So these are things that you could use to make the teaching and learning process relevant to them, all right? And they might laugh, and that's okay, but if they laugh, that's a good thing because it produces the hormone cortisol, and not cortisol, sorry, serotonin and dopamine and so on, which is the mental hormone or chemicals that allows the student to be in a mood that is conducive to learning. All right, so that's okay if they laugh when they see the Trini alphabet and all these things that they could relate to. That's okay. All right, so those are ways in which you want to engage your students. And these are some strategies here, some key strategies that you might want to consider. I will show you one before we leave, game-based learning, and maybe collaborative learning as well. So what I want to do, I'm not going to explain them, but I'm going to give you that task. So we have a little, yes, he did. Yes, yes, and I remember there were certain ramifications with that, but we wouldn't get into that right now. Yeah? So I have a little activity for you. So I'm going to put you in groups. Now we're going to be using what we call the breakout rooms in Blackboard. All right. Now I wasn't sure how many persons would attend. So if I'll probably put you in 3 groups. 3 groups should be fine. Or let me see how many persons will make 4. Right. So I'll put you in 4 groups. 2 groups will have 7, and one group will have 7. 3 groups will have 6, because I think persons are having connectivity issues. All right. So what you're gonna do is I'll give you 10 minutes. It's a quick activity, 4, 5, 60. In your groups, you're gonna choose one of these methods, instructional methods, and you're gonna do a quick search on it online, a Google search, and you could even put it together in a short PowerPoint, if you will. I'm just trying to stir up some competition here. And you're gonna tell the rest of the class what 5 things stood out to you or your group about that particular method. Yeah? Is it confusing? Let me know. One sec. Okay, great. Okay, nice. So I'll copy some of the instructions in a bit. Now, group 1, let me just let you know who are the group members in each group. I mean, you would see them, but still. Oh, it's changing because some persons are having connectivity issues. So I'm saying group 1. We have, let me go to all the way in group 4. So group 4, you guys have Avlan, Christian, Elizabeth, Heather, Simon, and Nicole. Nicole, I'll probably give you the lead there. So you could choose which one would you want. Any of the 4 here.
Active learning.
Active learning. So all those in group 4 with Nicole will be active learning. In the next group, group 3, we have a couple, Sandra Evans, Christian Ali, etc., Joanne, etc. So Sandra, I'll give you the lead here. Which one do you want? Out of the 4, out of the 3.
Cooperative learning.
Cooperative learning, good. And group 2, you have Donna, Kellen, Ryan, Ronald, etc., Sandra Farrell. Ronald, I'll give you the lead here. Which of the 2 remaining would you like?
We can do experiential learning.
Okay, good. So experiential learning. And that leaves the group with Claudette, Ian, and so on with, I think, inductive teaching and learning. Yeah? So I'll give you about 10 minutes. We should come back.
Sorry to interrupt. Can Ryan and Ian be in the same group just because I'm the interpreter for him?
Oh, yes. Okay, so let me shift you one time.
Alrighty.
Ryan, I'm putting you. Do you want to be in group 1 or 2? I'll put you in group 1, right? With Ian.
Alrighty.
Okay. So that should be good. So I'm going to send you in your groups now. So remember, the group with Claudette and everybody else is doing, I think, inductive teaching and learning. The group with Ronald is doing experiential learning. The group with Joanne and Sandra and so on is doing cooperative learning. And the group with Nicole is doing active learning. So we'll come back at about 6:15 just to do that. You'll do your quick presentations, and we'll just tell the class what you know, even if you want to take it a step further and do a quick PowerPoint, 2-3 slides, that's okay. And yeah, all right, so I'll let you know beforehand when the group breakout room will end. All right, so you have about, let's say about eight minutes or so. All right? All right, and we're going to start now.
for Christian.
So brainstorming.
All right, guys, back to the main room.
Okay.
Can you believe that?
What? Back to the main room. So in the main room.
We're in the main room now.
Okay.
So,
got it. So,
Wow.
but Christian, can you put your Padlet?
Sure. Share.
Yeah, can you share it in there
okay,
again?
so we just ended the breakout rooms. Welcome back, guys, to the main room. And I see. Oh, I see somebody use the. Oh, this is what I like to see. Claudette's group has a Padlet to go with their presentation. What? Oh, okay, Nicole. Okay, all right. And that's a PowerPoint. This is what I like to see. Nice. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is make some of the persons presenters. All right. I'm gonna make Nicole. I'm gonna make you a presenter for your group. I don't know if you want to delegate somebody else to present. You can let me know.
We didn't speak about who would present.
Oh, that's okay. Anybody.
Let me just see if I can. If I just click on the Padlet, it will open on the screen.
I actually just made you presenter, so you should be able. Do you have your Padlet up on your side?
Yeah.
All right. No, I could either share it for you or you could share it for yourself. Anyone would work.
Well, just share it. That it's the Padlet that Christian put in the
Okay.
group.
So let me just share that screen. One sec. So I guess your group is where it puts, right? So you should see it there now. Good.
Oh, okay.
You want it bigger?
So we said that there's a little bit of repetition going on here.
Now I could also, I see you have a PowerPoint here with active learning.
Yeah.
All right. So I could show you. Do you? I didn't ask, but did you want me to open it or no?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. So right. So you just let me know.
The message there is just for Christian, smile, you're beautiful. We talked a little bit about what is active learning and came up with the notion that it's all of those activities that help to promote higher order thinking skills. And it engages students with a deeper rather than a surface learning kind of thing. But what was fantastic about it was that even though sometimes the time period could be quite short, you could use a half hour, you could use 40 minutes, and you could still get a lot out of it.
Right.
In the next slide, we then talked about the fact that there were really a range of strategies that could be used. These were just a couple of the things that we got to discussing. So doing reflections, doing role playing. Avalon commented on a 1-minute brainstorm, which was really just a 3-step kind of thing, because you would first do 1 minute of brainstorming where you give them the topic and they just post ideas in a chat or but the point is that they post the responses very quickly.
Right.
Then you could move on to a 5-minute session where they then document sentences or fuller ideas, and then you could move on to actually writing up. And she said what was interesting about that is that you could get students who, if you just gave them the topic and told them to write, they'd be like, I don't know anything about that. And then another thing that we talked about was using if you are one of the people that insist on lectures, you could do a poll at the end well, when you still had some time, leaving yourself some time,
Right.
ask students for what was the muddiest point for the day for them, and
Very
use
good.
that as a jumping board platform to jump off into a kind of a re-engagement with the students on that particular topic.
Excellent, excellent, and I like that muddiest point strategy. That is a tried and true strategy. Very good, group 4. Very good, very good. Let's give them a round of applause and so on. And I just want to note, I just want you guys to see they use both PowerPoint and Padlet. Just
yeah, I'm gonna.
All right, excellent. Excellent. All right, the other group. Which group wants to go next? All right, Ronald. Okay, good. Ronald, let me just. Do you want? I think I made you a presenter already, so you could upload your. Did you upload your PowerPoint already, or share your screen? You could do either one. Look. Yes.
That's so unfair. I think that's unfair, Ron.
Everybody knows I really love PowerPoint, so I can make it very quickly. So we looked at experiential learning, and then basically our presentation will just include the key features that we found, and then the learning cycle, which is very important to experiential learning, and then just a quote that we think will sum it up very well. So we were still looking at our key features when you cut us off, but we found that learning by doing or active learning being the most important. So learners participate responsibly in the learning process. They must be doing it themselves. Learning through experience, but what's key is that it must be self-initiated, and we found that it must involve the whole person, right? So it's not just, I guess, about thinking and writing, but I guess it must be very kinesthetic, involve the whole person. We were still doing some research on the other key tenets, which are reflections or reflexivity and learner-centeredness, and we didn't get a chance to finish that, so we leave that right there. But the other tenets of experiential learning are reflections and being learner-centered. And then Kellon found this beautiful chart, or basically the learning cycle with experiential learning. Yeah. So experience, reflect, conceptualize, and experiment. And then another group member decided that this quote was very apt, which is, tell me and I will forget, show me and I may remember, inform me and I will understand. All right. Thank you very much. This is my TED talk.
The competition is real. I love it. All right, good. And this was group 2 or 3? I think that was group 3. All right, excellent. Let's give them a round of applause. Emojis. Right? Sometimes the couple class I'm like cake and virtual cake. All right. All right, good. Next group. Any group, which of the other 2 groups would like to go first? I think we had
a presenter.
I'm hearing multiple questions. Okay, so let's go for that because I see they have because I'm hearing some background. All right, so Sandra, you want to go? Do you want to go now? Do you have anything to share?
We didn't decide on a presenter, but I guess we can go since you had made me group leader or something. Yes, let's see. How do I think I don't know what's going on with my little PowerPoint here, but we'll see.
So you can share your screen if you like.
I'm a presenter, right?
Yeah, I just made you a presenter.
Okay. Share content. Share my.
So you go to share files, and then so you can either share the PowerPoint via share files, or you could share the screen. Anyone.
Okay, I'm trying to share the screen. I don't know what's happening.
Right. So once you go into the
okay, so I'm right here. It says share application screen, right?
Right, and then you're gonna click. You'll see a little pop-up window appear. Yeah.
Hold on, give me 1 second.
Sure, you take your time. So when you click,
I see a little pop-up window appear, yes, but I like it. I'm seeing that screen. I'm not seeing my other screen.
So what you're gonna do is click on application window. In that pop-up box, you should see application window.
Yes.
Right. And when you share, you select on the PowerPoint and then you click share.
Okay. Can you see it?
Not yet.
Okay, application window, PowerPoint, share. I did what you said, it's not sharing.
Okay, well, it's not sharing. Is it? Let me know what you are seeing, and I could help from there.
Okay, Justin, I don't know. I did what you told me. I share application screen, application window. I'm seeing PowerPoint, but there's nothing there. I'm not.
Right. So when you click on the window, when you click on the PowerPoint, you should see a little button at the bottom, in that pop-up window. When you click on it, you should see share. So click on the pop-up window with.
Justin, let's forget about that. Let's just
go
with what we have, because I don't know what's going on.
All right. You could either upload your file, or you could just talk us through it. Anyone.
Okay. Well, let me. Just because Ron came up with a fancy PowerPoint, I kind of wanted to show.
Yeah, I know, right? And the competition's typically so.
I just wanted to prove that we might not be as good, but we could do something. But it's failing. It's failing me.
So you just click on share files.
Yes.
And you could just drag it into the plus sign that you see there.
Okay, it's uploading.
Okay, good. Okay, there it is. Right.
Okay.
So I'll open it for you.
Okay.
And you could navigate with the arrowhead at the bottom of the slide. So you take it away.
Yeah, you see, so we have this shows a little cooperative learning. One, I mean, it's not a fancy picture, but it's something. Okay, so so basically, we came up with a couple of 5 facts. So the first thing is that it's sometimes referred to as small group learning, and it's of course an instructional strategy in which small groups of students work together on a common task. And I think, of course, especially now, I've found it kind of very useful to have the students work in that kind of way. But someone mentioned, I don't remember who it was, whether that when we talk about cooperative learning, whether there's some kind of negative, that there might be some negative dimension to it. I'm thinking in terms of, from the students' perspective, they don't really like group work. They always seem to protest. And what I've found is that if you keep the groups kind of on the smaller side, then it works a little better. So so another fact is that it encourages positive interdependence. It promotes, of course, interaction. And even if now we are online, but they're still able to interact because sometimes we put them in breakout rooms or they create their WhatsApp groups and all of that to work on the tasks. It helps to foster accountability and responsibility. Now, that again, I'm not quite sure about that because sometimes you get students complaining about other students not pulling their weight, not contributing, not being responsible, and all of that. So that's, I guess, a downside to it. It helps with social skills. I
just want to chime in a little bit while we're on the point. The good part is that with technology now, when it's mediated by technology, it's very easy, to mitigate against that, because now technology, you could track students, even if it's not in My Learning. Let's say Google Docs, for example, that they might be using that as a collaborative document, but Google Docs, you could track the history in terms of who contributed what to the document and who didn't. If they were creating a website or a wiki or whatnot, you could track who did what and who didn't do anything. So I think with the technological advancements, it's a lot easier to for accountability purposes, to see who did what, and then you have evidence to show, well, okay, person X didn't do task A, B, and C. Yeah.
Yes, but that's if they're using one of those platforms, because normally they just do the work and then they submit it, so you don't really see what they do. Maybe a good idea might be to specify and say that you want them to do it using Google Docs, so you can you'll be able to track it in that way.
Exactly.
Okay, because sometimes you just don't have access to that. But okay, and that's just about it. We do have a little diagram as well, since everybody else. Right. So then it just summarizes what some of the points that I made, like positive interaction, positive interdependence, and all of that, and group processing. By reflecting on the learning process and the effectiveness of the contribution of the members. So I think that's it. That's it for us.
Okay, great, excellent. Let's just give them the cake and the hand claps and the, I even have to put in a little eye inside there. Okay, all right. So good job, guys. Good job. All right, Christian, yes. All right, Heather, giving you all love. Heather, you in that group, not so? All right, so so the next group, right? So Heather's just sending love, just support from another group, right? Heather, you with Nicole, nice. Okay, so the last group, I think this is Claudette's group. I think Claudette, you guys had a Padlet.
Yes, Amina has it. So could you put it up?
Yeah, I'll just put it up here. I'll share it here, and let me just switch it for you. All right, so you should be seeing that now. Let me just see if I can make it a little bigger for you.
Okay, so we didn't go with the fancy stuff. We just went with content, you see.
I love the flair which is you're using to see it. Go ahead.
Right. So inductive teaching and learning really is a umbrella term for a variety or a number of different teaching methods and strategies, including things like problem-based learning, project-based learning, case-based learning, that kind of thing, where students really investigate and get into
gathering information. So we put it there that learning is student-centered, knowledge is practicalized. We put it that way because, you know, knowledge is something in your head, but when you actually go and discover things through projects and problem-based learning and so on, it make it more practical. And as you were saying, that people tend to remember it. That's where learning takes place, yes? So the teacher is not the transmitter of knowledge, right? So obviously it's not teacher-based. The students discover the knowledge, as it were. They're guided, obviously, by the teacher, but then they discover. The learner's critical thinking and evidence gathering skills are being developed in this method of teaching and learning. And a useful method in discovering difficult concepts. So if you know, things that are difficult to explain and so on, students will learn it because they're discovering it. And so concepts become easier to grasp. So yeah, we didn't have enough time to get all of the, I'm sure, the juice that, you know, we could have gathered from it. But what I'm discovering is that almost all of them sound the same.
Yes.
Yes.
You're definitely right. Excellent job, guys. Excellent job. And I think when I show you the table I have right after, you will see the similarities and how you can use multiple approaches. If you do it really well, you might be covering multiple approaches or using multiple strategies at the same time. All right, so it doesn't mean that you have to use collaborative one time and then active learning at another time and that sort of thing. They're all kind of intertwined. All right, so good job, guys. So I know we are a little over time, so and it's probably because I digressed to help you build a Padlet, so that's okay. I'll just cut back on something that I was going to show you. I was going to show you how to create a Jeopardy, not a Jeopardy, a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire game, but I think maybe, if possible at all, we could probably reserve that for maybe a follow-up session on game-based learning, because I don't want to keep you back too late. So just in about 5 minutes, sorry, we should wrap up, and maybe, yes, definitely, I wouldn't mind. I would actually like to do another session, and I could reserve that last part for that next follow-up session. All right, so Elizabeth, we could definitely talk about that. So great, Avla, no problem. So this is a quick little table to wrap up what the activity we did just now, and I'll get to that in well, a more specific reflection on that in just a bit. But this is to sort of bring everything together to summarize what you guys just did. It's a learner-centered approach, a learner-centered teaching approach that we took. And remember, I spoke about the paradigm shift. So it focuses the activity away from just you doing all the talking to letting me to letting, yes, Christian, to being guided more by the students, right? And so I just wanted to provide a little concise summary here. Oh, thank you so much for that, Sandra. And so yes, so we see active learning. Students will solve problems, answer questions. It's basically the student doing most of the things. A good example of active learning is what you just did, right? I could have easily explained each for you, but it wouldn't have been as meaningful, as memorable. You may have had a low commitment and low attention. Remember the table I showed you earlier with the different levels of engagement, right? It would have been pale in comparison to the way we just did it. All right, cooperative learning or collaborative learning. What we did just now was another example of that, where you work in teams or in groups, and Blackboard breakout rooms caters to that. That is precisely what breakout rooms are meant for, are used in Blackboard. All right, they're meant for group work, collaborative work, and that sort of thing. Inductive teaching and learning, all right, you just present your students with a challenge or challenges, and then they must go through a process of of solving that. So inherent to that is the development of problem solving skills and critical thinking skills and all the things that make the what we call the UE, distinctive UE graduate, right? Experiential learning, I think Ronald may have, Ronald and his group did the presentation on this. And of course, it's a process, and the graphic that you guys use is exactly that in a nutshell. Again, you learn by doing, which is reminiscent of active learning and all these different things. It's a hands-on approach, but it's a more systematic approach in the sense it's more specific, where you go through a process of experience, reflection, so you reflect on your experience, then you conceptualize things, certain things that might stand out to you, and then you start to implement or experiment with whatever that conceptualization may have been. All right. Now, one of the things to make mention here, it is usually a continuous process, right? So after your experimentation, then you go back to experience, right? If I remember correctly. So keep that in mind. So what are some of the things that stood out to you in that activity we did just now? Anything? You could type it or you could use your microphone. Anyone is okay.
I think it's a movement away from the teacher, and the learning is in the hands of the learners and not in the hand. I mean, you know, the learners take over.
Yes.
Most of the session involves them doing stuff,
yes,
taking over. Yeah.
That is exactly it. And the teacher just becomes what we call the guide on the side, right? And information as yes. Someone said. Let me see who said that. Claudette said information is at your fingertips. So you're literally using what would normally be a distraction to a more productive end. Joanne said that we were to cooperatively learn. Right, so you implemented what you were studying, just looking up just now, cooperative learning. Avalon, go ahead.
I had fun, and that was important. And I feel how my students feel, you know, so
Right.
you know, it's I like the Padlet because the whiteboard in BBC frustrates me like crazy, and I see Padlet as something that would help to generate the group brainstorms. So I really like that. Thank you.
Right. Very good. Very good. And that is a good idea to use the Padlet. It instead of using the whiteboard. You make a very good point there. I never thought of that. So thank you for that as well. All right. Just to bring it all together, some of the things that we did in this activity, I think Joanne mentioned it, we did the collaborative approach. We used, and this is reminiscent of the slide I just showed you a little while before the activity with the different instructional strategies. So what this slide is really trying to do, what I was trying to do here is to show how we incorporated the instructional strategies, such as problem-based or inquiry-based, collaborative, interactive, but we also use some of the technology. All right, we use the breakout rooms, we use the BBC presenter, we use some people share screen, like Ronald. I think, you know, Sandra uploaded her content, and these are things that you could do with your students as well. All you have to do is make them presenters in Blackboard, and it's very easy to do that. You just go into the participants, the attendees list, and you would see, if you go there now, you would see it. You would see like 3 dots next to, on the right side of each person's name, and then you could just make them presenters instead of moderators. A word to the wise as well, you want to make them presenters and not moderators, because moderators could take over or hijack your session, and you don't want to do that, right? They could close off your whole session and you know, bump people out and so on, so you don't want to do that. So I would encourage you to try to find ways in which you can incorporate group work and group presentations and all these things. And just what we did, you could implement it or model it in your particular session. So that was kind of my intention there, to try to model what you can do in your sessions. All right, so we see how the technology worked harmoniously with the instructional strategies. Remember, I was showing up the diagram about alignment. All right, and that way learning and engagement are maximized. Now, when we do a follow-up session, no problem, I could explain that now, Natasha. So to put persons in groups, and I'll try to do this very quickly, I actually have it here as a backup slide, so you always want to be prepared. So, so to use breakout rooms, I'll just show you what it, because I know time has passed, right? All you have to do is basically a couple steps. If I make you a presenter, let me make some of you presenters or moderators. So I'll make Nicole, I'll make you a moderator. Sandra, I'll make you a moderator. Let me see who else I can make. I'm just trying to do it very quickly. Natasha, I'll make you a moderator. You would see that that your status has changed. You'll just see a little notice at the top right side of your screen. All right. Claudette, I'll make you a moderator very quickly. All right. Rayanne, I'll make you a moderator. So just a few, because I don't want to take too much of your time again. So when you go to you would see, when you click on that middle icon, the one with the arrow in the middle, with the sort of, it looks like if it's an attachment icon, and it's right here. Let me just switch here. It's right here at the bottom of the screen here. You're gonna see under share content, you're gonna see breakout rooms. All right, you click on breakout rooms. Now, please don't send us into a breakout room. I just made you moderators so you could see the buttons. Once you click on the breakout rooms, you're going to see an option, a couple options or settings, where you could either randomly assign persons to a breakout room, or you could customize it, where you specifically delegate persons to specific groups. I would recommend for this little checkbox here that you do not allow participants to switch between groups, because then it could become very chaotic. All right, so that's a little tip from managing the classroom. And then you can determine, normally you would see somewhere here to determine the number of persons you want in a group. All right, if it's not number of persons, sorry, you could determine the number of groups you'd like. Now, if you say 2 groups, Blackboard would try to do the math and assign persons as evenly as possible. Sometimes you might get an extra person in a group. All right, but anyway, so you insert the settings and then you just click start. And once you click start, everyone will be placed into groups, and that's it. Now, when you need to end the breakout room session, you would see a little square button. When you go back to this page, you would see a little square button here, and that square button is to end the breakout rooms. All right, any questions on that? Okay, great. So let me just wrap up. Oh, you are most welcome. You are most welcome. I'm happy to do this. So oh, I had some tips. Let me just share some tips with you very, very quickly. So, and I think some of you mentioned it earlier. You want tips for teaching in the online environment. You want to make it relevant. In other words, use what is going on, make it contemporary, or make it relevant to what the student could relate to. So remember we mentioned the Trini alphabet and all these different things. You could incorporate that or make reference to it. Or some of you could even instruct your students to do a similar activity. Make it participatory or make it active. In other words, let the student be actively involved in the process. You don't have to present everything. You don't have to do everything. It makes it easier on you where you could just let the students do the work in terms of do the research, present on it, and then have them, thanks so much for that, Joanne, and then have them present on it, and then you just provide little tips here and there to guide them. Make it interactive, so let them interact with each other via discussion, via chat, all these different things. I think somebody mentioned that they had fun. Avalon mentioned that. That is always a good thing because, like I said earlier, it produces certain chemicals in the brain and so on that puts them in a mood for learning. Sorry, excuse me. It puts them in a mood for learning, and it makes it more memorable because when you're fun, you hardly ever forget when you have fun, yeah? So it leads to more long-term learning or long-term memory. And of course, make it meaningful or memorable to them. And they kind of all saying the same thing. All right, so any other questions that you may have?
Yes, Justin, I noticed that you have 123 slides, and we got through 58. And I know that we want to have another session, but are you going to share all the slides?
Right, so here's really a tip I was gonna think. So what I do sometimes is, even though I don't intend to use those slides, I just have them as a backup in case a question is asked that I could. So for example, how I think Natasha asked about the breakout rooms and so on. So I'll just have backup slides to, in case a question is asked, I could show you what to do. So those slides are usually out of order, but I will try to see if I could condense them into what we actually use for today. And you will also get the recording as well. So it'll help make the slides make sense. Oh, I think somebody changed my PowerPoint. So let me put it back. So yeah, so definitely, even though you're seeing 100 and something, it's not all of that that will be relevant for the session. All right. Good. Sandra said it prayer. No problem at all. No problem at all. Any other questions? Oh, you're most welcome. You're most welcome. I had fun myself. So this is. And Joanne, I love cake, but I prefer the physical face-to-face cake. So the physical chocolate cake, if you could just send that my way, I'll be very happy. As opposed to the virtual cake. Anyway, so guys, you're gonna see an email, whatever email you use to register for this session. We're gonna send an evaluation link. Please, oh, thank you so much for that, Christian. We're gonna send an evaluation form. It's very short, and it just gives me some feedback to know, to let me know what you liked, what you probably didn't like, or what I could do differently, or what, you know, that sort of thing. And I'll be very appreciative to hear from you. All right, it's anonymous, so, but I'll still be glad knowing that, you know, it's from this department and so on. If you need any additional support, feel free to send me a message. If it's something that relates, like a technical thing that relates to Blackboard, you could send me a message too, or you could just send servicedesk@sta.uwi.edu, and my learning team, CTL and SITS, we work together to iron out those issues. All right, or you could send me an email directly, and I'll be happy to help. All right, so make sure that your online teaching is collaborative, that it's relevant or appropriate, that it's creative, think outside the box, make sure it's practical or hands-on. All right, and have a great evening, everyone. Thank you for the feedback so far. Well, not the feedback, but the comments. I'm reading the chat. You're welcome, Nicole. You're welcome, and Christian.
Justin, if I may, thank you so much for this session. I mean, you were most generous. It was engaging. It was everything I hoped it would be, and I'm sure we enjoyed it. You will be hearing from us, Justin, for part 2.
Definitely, I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for your generosity as well. Thank you.
You are welcome. All right, have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay,
and feel free to shoot me an email if you need any further assistance as well. All right?
Okay, we will.
Remember, you too, Nicole.
Bye.
All right, have a great evening, everyone.
Thanks, DMLL. Thanks, group. You all were
Same
great.
to you. Bye.
Bye-bye.